Ask that you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for Pastor Nicholas to lead us in prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic
Let's pray, please. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you on this day as the seasons are changing, and we welcome the life that spring provides. We welcome the promise of life eternal that you give us through your Son for all those who believe. Father, I ask this evening as the council meets that you give them clarity of mind and speech, that they will be thoughtful and decisive as necessary. Father, we pray for them also as they lead us with the authority granted to them, and that they do so humbly. Father, may we as the people who follow, may we do so with respect and devotion to our village, our township, and Michigan in general, our country. Father, we give you thanks again for this day, this time to meet and conduct business. And we give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Nicholas. Lisa, if you'll call roll.
James Dyson.
Present.
Mike Donner.
Here.
Ben Houston. Here. Bill Gritzmaker.
Here.
Jerry Hayes.
Here.
Eric Rogers.
Here.
Waters.
Present. Thank you. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from April 10th, 2023.
Move to approve minutes of our April 10th, 2023 meeting as presented.
I'll second.
Moved and supported. Lisa.
Bill.
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Gwen. Yes. Jerry.
Yes.
Jane.
Yes, those minutes are approved. Moving on to presentations and communications. We have Mr. Daniel Clark today from Lehman. Thanks for coming, Dan. How are you this evening? Good, how are you? Doing well, thank you. You want to just run through this with us?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, council and attendees. As stated, my name is Daniel Clark, principal from Raymond. Tonight we're going to present on the fiscal year 22 audit. I don't know if this is it going to be up on screen as well or no? Okay. Well, I've had about presentations to you all tonight, so that you can follow along with that. So you should have received or have been made aware that there were issued financial statements as well as a board communication letter. This presentation tonight just summarizes both of those documents. So a couple things we're going to go through tonight: team members, board communications as always, financial results, and then upcoming accounting pronouncements, and then answer any questions that you may have. So slide 3, again, I was the design principal. The team was the same this year. Tracy Kendall was the senior manager, Sharon Ray was the supervisor, and then we did add a new staff person this year, Alexi Day.
You know, how many years has it been that you guys have been doing our audits with people, please?
We started, I think, in 2018 or 19. Yeah.
Do you rotate out that?
That's at the discretion of the village. So I don't know if there's a mandatory time that it's rotation for you guys. I don't think there is.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. All right, slide 4 are the board communications. Number 1, first and foremost, we did issue a clean or unmodified opinion on your September 30th, 2022 financial statements. Those were issued and submitted to Treasury by the March 31st deadline, so 6 months after your year end, as well as the required F-65 and the Act 51 reporting. Number 2 on this slide, we did implement one new accounting standard this year, GASB 87, related to leases. There was no actual material effect on your financial statement presentation, so it was implemented, but there was no change in how things were presented for you folks here. We did assess your accounting estimates, and we deemed those to be reasonable. So those things that go into calculating your depreciation expense, any allowances on doubtful accounts, etc. Happy to state, number 4, we had no difficulties when performing the audit this year. All questions were answered, all documents provided, and as previously stated, this was completed timely in time to submit to the state. Number 5, we do have usually some year-end adjustments that are required. This year they related to depreciation expense, some accruals for accounts payable and your related construction in progress accounts. So mostly, I believe, related to the sewer project that's going on. And then we did have an adjustment to your water and sewer payout balances, and that affected the charges for services as well. So there were material adjustments made. Again, those are not unusual for you guys at your end to have some of these adjustments. Number 6, so as part of that, if we do make or request certain material adjustments, there's an automatic finding. So this is just a repeat of last year. Also had material adjustments, and then finding number 2 was related to, we do prepare the village's financial statements. Again, that's a repeat from last year. It's somewhat of a cost benefit for the organization to just have us do that. That is a function of management. Often organizations of your size, it's very typical, so not unusual. There was one other management letter comment that was noted related to the sewer project. So as part of the compliance, because it is a federal program, it's being federally funded, you have to both check and document that the vendors you're using are not suspended or debarred. So although that was checked and the vendors that you are using are not, there was no documentation showing that actual process was done. So no compliance issue, more of just a, hey, make sure that's documented properly. So when we come out and look at it, it can be shown that it was actually done. But again, there were no compliance issues there. And then number 7, and this was similar to last year, there was indication that fraud may have occurred in the prior years. That is not anything that we noted this year, but because it is an ongoing investigation, that has to remain in the management letter that's still pending.
May I ask a question at this point, Daniel? It's simply because you mentioned the word fraud. Do you feel that there are any areas of concern for fraud currently that we need to check with any, need to correct any different checks and balances, anything like that? I know the past is past and we won't go there, but is there anything currently that we should be aware of or looking into further?
Sure. No, so as part of the audit, we do a risk assessment and control assessment. Often with an organization of this size, because you have limited staff, that segregation of duties can be a potential issue, meaning the same person is doing certain things. But we did look at it. There's nothing that jumps out of us that is something large enough that we would feel like would be a finding. Obviously, there's always improvement, but nothing that rose to the level that we felt like should be a management letter comment. So no to your answer, not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So slide number 5, because you are in that sewer federal program that you're receiving significant dollars for, we did have to perform what's called a single audit on the federal dollars. So this year you spent $4.57 million on the water and waste disposal system rural community program. So we did issue an unmodified or a clean opinion on that schedule of federal expenditures. So that was actually the only federal expenditure that you had this year was related to that program. I know in years past there have been miscellaneous small grants, but that's the only one that was noted this year for federal. Number 2, again, I already mentioned these findings, but we have to issue both a report on internal controls and then one on compliance. So there were those 2 findings I already mentioned that relate to internal controls, but there was no finding related to compliance. So all the money that was spent was reviewed and is in compliance according to the federal standards. So no issues there. If no questions there, I can move on to the financial section here. So slide 6 is a snapshot of your balance sheet. So the village had a total of $28.7 million in assets at the end of 2022. Big chunk of that relates to your net capital assets. So all things infrastructure, buildings, etc. Last year you had $23.7 million. So you had an increase of approximately $5 million in total assets. Most of that relates to, you'll see the net capital assets increase just over $3 million. That's mostly the result of the sewer project. So you put in about 3.8 million in additions this year, and then you had 662,000 in depreciation. So it netted to about a $3.1 million increase. And then your cash did increase by about 1.8 million or 1.7. That's mostly a result of a positive net income for the entity as a whole. And specifically, the general fund had approximately about 500,000 in net income for fiscal year 22. And I'll talk briefly about that here in a moment. Next slide talks about your liabilities. So the village had 12.6 million in liabilities at the end of 2022. Last year you had 9.4 million. So your liabilities also went up 3.1 million or 3.2 million. Most of that relates to obviously those capital assets I spoke to about the sewer project were purchased through a loan. So your loan balance went up about 3.9 million. The accounts payable and accrued liabilities dropped significantly this year, so that it went from 1.6 million down to 466,000. At the end of last year, there was a significant accounts payable invoice related to the sewer project. It was about 1.1 million sitting out at the end of the year and had not been paid. There was not a similar large invoice at the end of this year. So you do have a new category called unearned revenue of 343,000. So you did receive certain ARPA money. And that has yet been used on its intended purpose at the end of 2022. So that's sitting in unearned and will be recognized as revenue when you guys do decide to spend that. So the village did receive 343,000 in ARPA money.
Daniel?
Yes.
If I may, we also received a grant, or not a grant, excuse me, a gift of a sizable portion for the
Yes.
pool. Where does that fit in with this?
So that actually was recognized as revenue with contributions in the general fund. So I think it was like 178,000. So yes, that I will be talking about briefly when we talk about the general fund. Yep.
Okay.
All right, next slide. So the village does have a pension for its employees, and this is a snapshot of the last 5 years. So in 2022, all the way over to the right, you had a net pension liability of about 561,000. The first column is the net or the total pension liability is 5.5 million. Then you have assets that go against that, or the plan net position of 4.9. So that net position or the liability is 561,000. So you're currently sitting at about 90% funded. You'll see that number right next to the 2022. And you'll see that's fluctuated a little bit, but you're sitting at 90% last year. You were 85% funded. Over the last 5 years, the highest percentage funded that you were in 2018, and you were at 95%. So again, relatively stable over the last 5 years. Again, that's very high. A lot of municipalities would love to be at that percentage. So
I was just going to ask, what is a typical range you see?
oh, it can be a huge range. It can be very, very low. I mean, I've seen some that are, I mean, not funded at all. But I would say on average, we see between like 60 and 75%. So I would say that yours is fairly high considering. So, and that does fluctuate based on market conditions. So I would expect with the market declines that we saw, that percentage might go down a little bit when we report on this again next year. Slide 9 is your equity position for the entity. So it's split up into 3 different buckets. 67% in net investment in capital assets, 22% is unrestricted, and 11% is restricted. And then slide 10 is just a snapshot over the last 5 years of those different balances. So you guys are sitting on about 3.5 million in unrestricted net assets entity wide. So across all funds. That did increase from last year. Your restricted balances remain relatively stable at 1.7, and then your net investment in capital assets dropped from 11.6 to 10.8, but no unusual items to note there. And then I'll talk about the income statement a little bit. Slide 11. So this is all funds. You'll see that you had 6.6 million in revenue compared to 4.8 million in expenditures. So the entity as a whole had a $1.8 million net increase in equity for 2022, which is relatively the same as 2021. And you'll see over the last 5 years, it was positive in each of those 5 years. Slide 12. So the two major revenue line items that the villages received is property taxes. You had 1.4 million in property taxes. And then your state revenue, you were about 1.1 million. So your state revenue continues to increase. It increased about 30,000 over last year, but in 2018, it was 712,000. So that has significantly increased year over year over the last 5 years. And your property taxes have gone kind of up and down. I know there were property taxes related to the pool that jumped that up, and now those have settled back down at the $1.4 million number. And then we'll talk about your general fund on slide 13. So the general fund had 2.2 million in revenues for 2022 with expenses of 1.7. So you had a change in fund balance of about 500,000, as I already spoke to. So that contribution that Gwen had asked about, that sitting in that $2.2 million. So it was recognized as revenue, but it's sitting in a restricted category. So obviously it can only be spent on the contributor's specific purpose. So you will see the last 2 years was positive net income for the general fund. The last 3 years before that, the village was seeing net negatives. I do know in 2021 is when you stopped having a certain portion of your property taxes go to the municipal road fund. So that has what has jumped that revenue up between 2020 and 2021. All right, and then slide 14 is your general fund coverage ratios. So what this measures is how many months of expenses are sitting in your fund balance. So you are currently at 8 months of expenses in your fund balance, and that has continued to increase. You'll see in 2020 was that low point, and then when you started moving that property tax or stop allocating it to the municipal fund, that's when your fund balance began to increase. So I would say that you guys are in a nice spot right now, and have done some efforts to make the fund balance a little bit stronger than we've seen in years past. And then the last couple of slides just relate to your water sewer fund. So slide 15 just shows the charges for services for water sewer. You're currently at 3.6 million. That's relatively the same over last year. And then the next slide we talk about cash flow. So slide 16 shows that you had positive cash flow for the water sewer fund of about 939,000. And that has remained positive over the last 4 years, positive net cash flow. Slide 17 shows just operating cash flow. So this doesn't take into account capital additions or debt payments. So this is just from operations. The village had 579,000 in operating cash flow for 2022, and this has remained relatively stable. Except last year, I think there was a jump up related to I think increased rates from last year, if I recall. And then the last slide here are your cash balances for the water sewer fund. That remains at 2.5 million in cash at the end of the year. And that continues to increase as those positive cash flows continue to be there. And then the last slide, slide 19, just shows upcoming accounting pronouncements. You'll see most of these really have no significant impact. I put NA next to them, but we will work with the village as they become applicable over the next 3 years to make sure that if they do that, we will assist them in implementing those. But at this point, we don't see any significant impact. So with that, any additional questions?
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Clark?
Yes, I do. Looking at the our fund balance, so overall, I guess, Daniel, you could say that our fund balance, specifically the general fund balance, we're doing okay. I mean, I know that there have been years in the past that I think when you perhaps started, things were not looking as nice, for lack of better words. it's not very technical, it'll look nice.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
could you elaborate on what you've seen as a positive
Sure.
for the village of Blissfield, what the growth, how things have changed?
Yeah, so typically with this ratio, we recommend to be over 3 months. And you were hovering right there from 2018, 19, and 20, again, because of those negative general fund results. I think as part of some expense management, as well as not moving those property taxes anymore over to municipal fund, has done a significant job in doing this. I know that there have been, again, this jumped up too, because you also have that contribution that hit as well. So I would say just overall management to get this number up to, and our recommendation is over 3, and typically if we see it like much greater than 12 months, meaning a full year, that could be, hey, are you guys not spending it on the appropriate things, or you're not spending it? So I would say right now you're really in a comfortable spot, and to see that continuing growing, that's a very positive sign, so.
That was my question too. If, say you took out all the donations or whatever that was for or you know, kind of line item for specific projects, do you have an idea where we would be regarding months for general fund coverage? Because
Well, actually, so
it seems high to me.
yeah, this actually only relates to the unrestricted. So actually that donation I misspoke would not be included in this calculation, because we only count unrestricted towards this calculation. So that 178,000 is actually sitting in a restricted bucket, so that would not affect this calculation. So the 8 million is the number that you'd be looking at.
So in regards to that, I think we're a little bit high there, because again, people don't want to see their municipality as a bank. You know, we do have to have some sort of reserve to operate in case anything did happen. But again, we've talked about how tight the budget is for a couple of years now. And to sit here and say that we're at 8 months and we're almost double what we had been. Maybe we were a little bit too conservative in spending. I know people will flip when they hear that, but we also need to be able to provide services. We also need to be able to provide services. And we've talked about doing this or not doing that. And again, we need to spend to continue to operate and continue to grow, but we need to do it responsibly, obviously. But again, I think that doubling it in just 2 years is a little bit high. So
It's not double.
if we
We
average
also-
3, we double it. If we average 4, we double it.
We also need to keep in mind that this is last year's fiscal year audit, so it doesn't count for this year. We're actually projecting to have more expenditures than we are revenue in general fund, because we're starting or trying to check off some of those projects and maintenance items that we have. So keep that in mind, that at the end of fiscal year, Daniel's saying we had 8 months, but if we spend the way we budgeted this year, that will decrease and go back down. I just want to make
Yeah, this
sure
is just a point in time.
Right,
Yeah.
and the larger majority of those expenses are gonna be on infrastructure, the utility fund, the water and sewer that we have been building up, and that's a different line item. General fund is something totally different, which is, I think that we're a little bit high in that. And you know, and then just to piggyback off that, obviously, we do have continued large scale infrastructure projects coming up in the next few years, and you know, it really is a never stop. We're playing catch up, much like every other municipality in state and federal regarding our infrastructure. So that, you know, I know people hate the water bills and hate how high they are, and it's a struggle for everybody. But again, that is us doing the responsible thing, the plan I have for when we're gonna have to start replacing all of these streets and all of these pipes underneath and all this new infrastructure.
Any other questions on the audit?
Were you involved, Daniel, at all with the changeover with the state billing system going from, you know, Hallway, that did that increase our audit costs this year?
Can you explain?
Because we went to the different.
the chart account conversion.
Oh, no, we helped a little bit just with some questions, but no, that was mostly handled internally.
Anything else, Mike?
I don't think so.
Well, second.
Right.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
thank you for coming out. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Have a great night.
And I do want to just share that,
Sure.
this presentation that Daniel did tonight, we do have a copy of it. So if anybody from the public would like that, just let me know. I'll get that either emailed or printed for them. And then I did just want to thank Daniel as well for all of his work this year. And he answered staff a few questions from staff, and we just appreciate that very much. So thank you.
I didn't see a link for it online. Are we able to put that on our webpage?
Yeah, I can do that as well.
Great. Thanks again. Safe travels.
Thank you.
All right. So unfortunately, Maya from the River Raising Watershed is not available tonight. So she will not be making a presentation. So looking for a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. Moved and supported. Any comments? Lisa?
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James.
Yes, the motion passes. Public comment. Go ahead.
I just have a question regarding the general fund balance.
State your name.
Sure, Ken Nichols.
Thank you.
Do we have an ordinance for the minimum number? Daniel recommended 3, but I didn't know if we had an actual number that we stay above.
I don't believe there's an actual ordinance. There is direction from the state as well as our CPAs. But there is there like any,
There is,
I don't know how
there's
you can
no
implement that
state.
ordinance.
Yeah, so there's no state requirement. There's only the recommendation of a 2 to 3 month fund balance, and the village has not adopted any specific fund balance. They do have the ability, the council could do a resolution saying that this is what we want our fund balance to be. And identify that for like staff guidance, and then that could be changed by any future councils. But that would be the only thing. We do not have that. Like an official document or anything that says the village is gonna try to maintain a whatever month balance.
A balanced budget.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good question.
Anyone else for public comment? All right, seeing none, I'll move on to unfinished business. First up, Coach Lake Estates. So, was it 2 meetings ago?
I think it was more than that,
Was
but
it more?
I gotta tell you, my days like really just meshed together, so.
When were you last here, Mr. Rupp?
I think I put.
Whatever you tell me, I was in the minutes.
March
It's not a
13th.
hot topic, it's not burning in my soul to get the $3, that's what it's gonna be.
It was March 13th.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I did attach the agreement that legal had prepared for this. And then if you have questions for myself or Dan, let us know.
Did you get an opportunity to review this?
I did.
Okay.
I did, I appreciate it. I also then submitted my W-9 and my insurance liability. I know that it was a little bit worried about the council that this doesn't become precedent. But in order to be a subcontractor, I have $1 million liability policy and I have a $500,000 workman's comp policy. Last thing you want to do is have to pay workman's comp on me. So that might stop this from being a little bit of, anybody come in and say, I want to do this too. This is something as a business we need to represent, and she has the copy of all of those.
I have no concerns. Anybody have a motion or anybody have any feedback, questions, comments?
I do have a comment and I know that this is something, I can't recall the company name, but we are going to be having a discussion of our future months regarding the meters. Daniel, is that what it is? June,
Yes.
and the idea behind that is to,
So, Veolia, I hope, am I saying that right? It's such a, they will be coming, to the June committee of the whole to talk to you guys about meters and do a presentation. Our meters on average are about 25 years old. So we have to do something, but meters have really advanced, from 25 years ago or even 10 years ago. So meters are now, a lot of them are smart meters, and you do have the ability, those, instead of our guys going out and reading once a month, it'll automatically every 10 seconds send a read. The other thing is there's the option to where you can do an automatic shut off. So from a button at my desk, I can hit shut off and it'll turn that meter off. So if someone's delinquent, there's a lot of different options. So that presentation, and I'm not saying we have to do that, by the way. I'm just saying a lot of advancements. So they're going to be doing that presentation. There'll be a couple of people from that organization. One of them has actually himself made and invented a couple different meters, and they'll be talking to you guys about that.
Consumer Power already does that on mobile home park with gas on budget.
We're basically just talking about turn ons and shut offs, so.
Yeah.
Make a motion to designate Coachlight Estates to some contract regarding water shutoffs and turnaround.
I'll support that.
I have a motion that's supported. Any other questions or comments from council? No. I know we said subcontractors we want to designate in Coachlight Estates. Or does it really make a difference?
So I have the motion, move to designate Coachlight Estates as a subcontractor regarding shutoffs and turn-ons.
Within the, yeah.
I would also just approve that agreement within the motion.
Okay, we'll put the agreement in there that we have from the attorneys.
Are you good with that amendment, Jerry?
Yeah, I think it should state though, now that James brings it up, that turn ons and shut offs within the Coachlight Estates Park.
Okay. So put that in there also. Can we read the whole thing, or at least it can read it?
That's in the agreement. I can't, in the lawyer's agreement, I can't go outside.
Gotcha.
For you. So I don't know if that's redundant or not.
If we have the mention of the agreement, then I think it is.
Okay.
Danielle, you want to reread yours?
Yeah, hold on, I'm. Move to designate Coachlight Estate as a subcontractor regarding shutoffs and turn-ons and approve the agreement as presented. Did I get it?
That's for
That
more.
was good.
Okay, just making sure.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Gwen,
no,
Jerry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
No.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes, that motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Rob.
Thank you.
On to new business, the bid award street mill and fill project.
Can we talk about this?
Sure.
All right. So we did put out several street projects for the summer to be completed. The first one tonight is mill and fill. We are doing the, I gotta look here and remember, South Gypsum, Giles, and then Cole, Smead, and Veterans. We received 6 bids ranging in price, and we are recommending Michigan Paving and Materials as the lowest qualified bidder to complete all of those streets. This is within our budget this year for major and local streets. And if you have questions, let me know.
Any questions from council? This is something we do every summer.
Yeah, sometimes I'm sure Danielle's looked at, historically, we sometimes go through the Illinois County Road Commission. And generally it comes back a little bit cheaper, so just maybe. You know, obviously it's good to try private as well, but we can't submit private bids and then go back and compete against the road commission. It's pretty much what they offer, take it or leave it, so.
We did reach out to the Illinois County Road Commission this year before we went out to bid, and their workload, they did not have the ability to do any streets here. But thank you. Well, and really, I gotta give Brent the credit for that because he had let me know that we tried to work with them. So thank you to Brent.
All right, if not, I'll take a motion to approve Michigan paving.
Make a motion to award the 2023 mill and fill project addendum to Michigan paving materials in the amount of $252,059.
Report. Moved and supported. There's no further questions. Lisa?
Jerry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
James,
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you. Action item number 2, bid award street fog seal project.
So this is very similar. We bid these all out at the same time, trying to get people that would be interested or could do multiple. We did only receive one bid for this, from Henry Bergman. Again, they met the specifications. It is within our budget. So we are recommending to award this project. It will be for Parkwood, Quick Street, Worth, Wellsville, North Lane and South Lane.
Have you worked with Bergman before?
I have not in my time here. Brent is familiar with them and he is comfortable with their work.
I assume that, just check.
Yes.
I move to award the 2023 streets fog seal project to Henry Bergman in the amount of $71,114.19.
Support. Moved and supported. Council, any other discussion or questions? Seeing none. Lisa, you will?
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
James,
Yes. Motion carried. Staying with more roads, the bid award street backfill project.
So we did receive 3 bids on this. GT was the lowest responsive bidder. They actually did our work last year. They did a great job. Some of these streets will be crack filled before they're fog sealed. And they're able to work with us in that timeline. So we are recommending GT contracting. And there's a whole list of 19 streets included in this. If you want me to list them, I can, but I know I've shared them with you all previously, and I'll be putting some information out to the residents, letting them know where work is happening as well.
I'll move to award the 2023 street crack fill project to G2 Contracting LLC in the amount of $33,200.
Support.
Is that Bill?
It was,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Lisa?
I just want to make sure we're not doing the gutter pans again, like we mentioned at the Brent, how they not do the gutter pans in the concrete.
Yeah, I know Brent and I talked about that, and I will, we'll follow up on that too and make sure we're all on the same page.
And
What is that? What?
the 1 year, just in historically in the past, one of the contractors did like the concrete and gutter pan, so it wasn't just the asphalt, and it really didn't do anything, just made a mess and increased the cost, so I think, see it as worth it.
Okay. Thanks. Lisa?
Tim,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike, Bill,
Yes.
James,
Yes, the motion carries. And last road actionable item is to award the street spray patch project to Premier Patching for $5,550.
I move to award the 2023 street spray patch project to Premier Patching in the amount of $5,550.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on this?
Again, we only received one bid on this.
We did, yes.
So we below budget on all these projects?
Yes. Super excited about it.
Awesome.
We do still have some sidewalks that are out to bid. That closes May 4th,
Okay.
with the pedestrian trail. But outside of that, we're budget wise doing pretty good on all these, and we're able to complete everything, so I'm happy with that.
Great.
I know Brent is as well.
Let's find something to spend the money on, make my contract too.
Yeah, it won't impact that general fund reserve, though, sorry.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
James,
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Moving on, number 5. Approve the 2017 Ford Explorer engine repair. Ooh, go ahead, Danielle.
So I have provided some information on the agenda for you guys with this. This is the vehicle. It's been replaced with the new one currently. The body of the vehicle is, and Chief, make sure you correct me if I'm wrong, is in really good shape. It's the engine that needs replacement. Chief and I have talked about this a few times extensively now, and it's coming before you guys because we don't necessarily have a preference one way or the other. There's pros and cons to this. Right now, they're not making police vehicles, which is obviously a huge issue or concern. If we do, it obviously is going to cost us money to replace the engine. It could be used for the SRO position and would last quite a bit of time being used by the SRO because their driving is minimal, or a backup vehicle. I do have, and I know that we've briefly, or not briefly, but several times have talked about, I do have concerns with the motor vehicle fund overall, which would fund this, and the condition that in the monies that we have in that based on the needs that we have. Regardless if you guys approve this, I have that concern. And we've started taking some actions like this year, we removed wages for the administrator and the zoning administrator for motor vehicle. It's our intent to remove treasurer and clerk in this next fiscal year. I didn't want to hit everything all at once, so we've been trying to pull it out and really get this fund back to where it should be. But if you have questions for Chief and I, let us know. He's done all of the legwork and research on this, so he's going to be the best person to answer questions regarding this specific vehicle or the quotes or anything like that.
This makes a total of 5 vehicles, then is that correct?
Yes.
Danielle, can you elaborate what you mean about the motor vehicle fund? You're concerned.
I am concerned with I think over time, we have started to kind of charge different things to that fund, which are not wrong, but the intent of that fund is that we would collect rental fees from the equipment that's used within the village with the different departments. It would be revenued into that fund so that later that fund could replace the equipment. But what we've kind of done is we've meshed it with other things. So now we don't have the money in that fund to purchase the new equipment needs that we have within the village. Yet we've continued to pay those rental fees.
Understand.
And again, I know we talked about this a little bit the last budget year, and I told you, my concern was if I pulled everything out of it in 1 year, then we were gonna hit these other budgets negatively, and I didn't want to take from one budget just to hit another one, so I've been trying to kind of over time pull those things out to make this one healthier so that we can buy the equipment that we need. I know like DPW, they have one more truck that needs to be replaced. They're in need of a street sweeper. They're also in need of a mower. And they're in need of a tractor that mows and plows the sidewalks both. So, and I mean, just the street sweeper used one's about $60,000. Our fund balance in the motor vehicle right now is about $16,000. So it's. The grant we got for the DPW vehicle did help. We also used that trust fund money for the police vehicle, which did help as well.
We currently have 2 Explorers, a Charger, a Durango, and the F-150, correct?
This is one of the two Explorers.
Is this the older one or the newer?
This is the 17.
Okay.
Here's how I'm looking at it. So I'm sure you remember my frustration when we spent that dedicated police budget for the pickup, because I said that kind of sets us up for failure in the future because we don't have that money in the motor vehicle fund to continue rotating those vehicles as we like to. One every 2 or 3 years is what we have done historically. When we expended that trust fund, that helped us get that truck, but it didn't set us up to continue being able to do that in the future. This makes complete sense to me. It's a brand new engine. That vehicle's in tip top shape, or at least, decent shape. By the time you outfit a new vehicle, by the time you put the wear and tear on the other vehicles that you're not utilizing this one with, you're gonna wind up spending a lot more. I mean, think about when you change out the partition in those vehicles, when you do the change out of the lights and the sirens and all the equipment, it's over $10,000. This pretty much pays for itself, gets us a new engine, gets us the SRO vehicle potentially, and it's reimbursed by the school for those operational costs. I don't know why we want to.
What do you mean about reimbursed from the school for the operational costs?
For most of the SRO position, correct, the school's gonna.
The school is paying wages and benefits only.
And this would be our cost.
Correct. So any, the agreement identifies that like uniforms, the purchase of a gun, any equipment needed is on the village. And the school pays 100% of wages and benefits.
Chief, if we spend the money to put a new engine in that car, how much longer do you foresee it being in our fleet?
If we're using this as the SRO's vehicle, I expect we would use it until it literally rusted apart. Dave is officer loses that vehicle, on average, probably 5 miles a day.
Okay.
So it's not idling or anything like that. So it's gonna last a while. It's got 95,000 plus miles on it right now.
Are there any, there's obviously a cost benefit to going used, but
Not much.
I don't think.
in my view, there's not enough there
Yeah, I
to
don't
make a
think there's
difference.
enough either. I would say, I don't generally have an opinion on this, but if you're going to approve it, I would go new. I don't think there's enough of a savings to justify it.
What kind of warranty comes on that new one? The new engine, is it in
The
there?
used ones are 2 years. I
Alright.
didn't ask on the new ones. I apologize.
That's okay.
Well, if the car salesman's gonna want to know. Sure, the engine.
Chief, all the electrical is good on this car.
Yeah, the headers went, and that's what necessitated the engine replacement, because it's an aluminum engine. So it's not like the old days where you can, take it to your local mechanic and they can rebuild the top end or anything. And I had several mechanics look at this thing and every single one of them that wasn't a Ford dealer, they didn't want to touch it. So.
Says 3-year unlimited. That's right.
I'm not quite sure why, I'm not quite sure I can be sold on why we need to have 5 vehicles. Can somebody help me with that?
We do have a new added position with the SRO.
And the intent when we talked with the school was then for to always have a vehicle to be able to make the way around the 3 buildings on campus. That was always the plan when we sat down with the school board and how we had worked out that proposal to make it work. Again, the wear and tear on vehicles, when one's down, you generally have a day and a night officer, you have a day or 2 day. You have the chief and the lieutenant or an officer on during the day. That's 2 vehicles right there. So if you're down 1, then you're short of 3. To me, this stretches it out. It gives us time to try to rebuild that motor vehicle fund, because we wouldn't have had that new pickup, the F-150, if not for the trust fund being spent. So again, it gives us another few years to tighten our belt to say, okay, how do we rebuild that motor vehicle fund so that we can replace them on a whatever annual, biannual, 3-year repetitive or rotational aspect.
So you're suggesting that with this being fixed, that there wouldn't be a need for a new vehicle for a period of time?
Correct. It would buy us some time. And like I said, rather than spend, we're right around 45, 50, 55,000 for a new vehicle. We can get this one back on the road for the same cost as reinstalling all the equipment into a new purchase. It's right around 10, 12,000 to put that into a new vehicle.
That's what you were stating. Danielle, your comment on that, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to agree, and that's what I apologize, Chief and I were kind of talking on the side too. So we do agree that it would extend us having the need to purchase a new vehicle. So we could push that out of
2 years, 3 years?
I think we
were-
could get to 24, 25
Yes.
Say it again, please.
I think we could get to 24, 25 safely, based on the mileage on the 3 marked cars now. I think we could get to 24, 25.
Well, 24 is just next year. That's,
No, next year would be 23, 24.
oh, I understand. Okay.
Yeah, it gets,
We're talking.
because of how our budget year is.
And hopefully in that time, we can clean up the motor vehicle fund that, it costs this to rent this vehicle and this, maintenance and whatever. Much like Daniel alluded to, we're trying to clean that up so we have a better idea of what things actually cost and how do we do the replacement on a rotational basis.
And we gotta remember too, DPW's vehicles come out of this fund too, so.
That's where I'm trying to figure out what our time frame is, so that we can go ahead and
Right.
get back forth.
Yeah, and my goal was to have this final, like cleaned up and ready to go the way that it should be functioning in the year 24, 25.
Gotcha.
So that would align.
We have another budget cycle.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah. And again, I did that kind of strategically, so I didn't just turn around and make that one healthy and hurt the other funds.
Sure. The problem was, the flip side of this is we cut our losses and just get rid of it. That's why Danielle and I talked about this at length. We couldn't come up with a recommendation. It's like, it's almost a wash one way or the other.
Mhm.
There's a little bit of an advantage to, putting a new engine in it. But was that enough for me to make a recommendation? It's so marginal.
Does the SRO officer currently take one of our other marked vehicles
He
out? there now?
does, and it's not a problem as long as all 3 cars are in service.
Right.
But then, there's usually one car that's out for repairs or something.
The Charger is the next vehicle to be slated to be replaced, is that correct?
Theoretically, yeah, right now it's got about 50,000 miles on it, so we're really good on mileage. The problem is that Charger,
We've had some trouble with that.
we've had to rebuild the transmission, it's got a new engine in it. And it's not from a lack of routine maintenance. When we get these new vehicles, the first thing I do is go through the owner's manual. We look at the maintenance schedule that the manufacturer recommends, and we put that right into our vehicle inspection report that we do monthly in-house. We're monitoring mileage, we monitor oil changes, tire rotations, coolant changes, I mean, transmission fluids. We are monitoring everything based on what the manufacturers are telling us. And despite that, the Charger has been plagued. Right now, it's running pretty good. I had to put a new battery in it last week, and that's the second battery I put in that car in a year and a half. And I'm told that where the battery is in the trunk of the vehicle, this was with the Connect only last week, it gets a lot of vibration, and that is limiting the life of the batteries, and that is a problem inherent to Chargers. So. The Ford guy's smirking, so.
Well, council, what do we think? Mike's made a pretty convincing argument. Maybe this even gets us a couple more years if it's light duty SRO. I don't see much advantage of getting a used engine if we decide on replacing it.
Not for $500 difference.
No. Well, the big one would be like, 102, is that 102,000 miles?
Yeah.
So you said they were giving you a 2-year warranty on the used.
Right.
Did they give you a mileage cap on it? Or is it 2-year
I think
unlimited?
it was 2 years. They just said 2-year warranty. They didn't say anything about mileage.
Because they noted on there that the new engine is 3 years unlimited mileage, so.
When we spoke, he just told me it was a 2-year warranty on used engines.
Yeah, for $500, I say you owe me.
This certainly buys us time.
Yeah, you guys said the 24, 25 years, which is, I understand, I mean, that's what you're
Yes.
stating, okay.
We've also changed the way we're operating the vehicles in that we used to commonly idle the vehicles because there's 5 different logins that have to occur when you turn the car on. And that can take up to 15 minutes depending on how good the network is. So it was common practice to leave the vehicles on and idling all day. Obviously, if we get an emergency call, you can't sit there for 10 minutes trying to log everything back on. So the cars were idling a lot. And with the aluminum body engines, especially the high performance engines, they got to have that airflow. So we changed our operation. We put a directive out. There's no longer any idling of the vehicles unmanned. Obviously, if we're running stationary radar or something, the vehicle's idling, but here in the parking lot or something, the car gets shut off. So, because it was, we instituted the vehicle inspection programs, 5 or 6 years ago, where we were monthly monitoring mileage and on all those maintenance items because we were trying to extend the life of these vehicles. So it was a bit frustrating when we had a 3-year-old Charger with 40,000 miles and a new engine. And we're like, we're doing everything right. Why does this car need a new engine? So,
I'll make a motion to have Spirit Ford install a new engine. The 2017 Ford Police Interceptor Utility PIU at a cost of $10,137.72.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported. Any additional discussion, questions? No.
I would like to see it possibly designated for the SRO officer.
In the motion shade.
If that's what they would choose, if that's who made the motion and seconded, would consider that.
that would be my recommendation.
Okay, strictly SRO.
Yeah.
All right, I have a motion.
Primarily, yes.
primarily as.
We're going to use it for the festival too, so.
I was just gonna ask that, if you're using it for any other functions.
Or during the summer, use it as a backup. Balance them out
And,
equally.
and I'm
that's
sorry,
up to
who
you.
seconded this?
Jerry.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want me to read the motion that I have? Just move to purchase and install a new engine in the 2017 Ford Explorer in the amount of $10,137.72, primarily as the school resource office for the school resource officer position.
Yes.
All right, Lisa, if you will.
Gwen,
No.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes, the motion carries. Action item number 6, approve change order for the wastewater treatment plant number 23. Randy, how are you this evening?
Tired.
How are things going out there?
95%.
Give us a quick.
It might be a 96.
It's printed, it's printed. Give us a quick update. Yeah, updates, say positive updates.
New clarifier's running,
Oh, good,
new screen's running,
good.
pump station's running.
Randy's running.
Other than waiting for supplies, any other major hurdles left? I know
We're not really waiting on anything now.
I thought we were waiting on one.
Yeah, we are waiting on that actuator that's
Yeah.
been
Oh.
ordered.
Nina stuff.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's it though.
For now.
Yeah,
We'll talk about that morning.
great. Yeah, we have a meeting with us on Wednesday morning.
So they've started to do their startup of some of the new systems, am I correct?
Most everything, the startup's done on. We had a dry startup in the clarifier. Now that the clarifier is running, they'll be back out for the wet startup. Finalizing all that. The new screening system's running. The grip system, I'm waiting on a thumb drive for a program, so that operates as designed. Other than that, everything else is pretty well done, aside from miscellaneous punch list items.
don't lose sight of that punch list. All right, you want to talk to us about this wastewater treatment plant change order?
So, first part of this is electrical conduits. That all just comes into play for the SCADA system that hopefully in the next month I'm bringing to you guys for approval. That was done months ago. And then part of why that's just now getting to us is credits that were due. So that's the first small bit of this large change order. The second thing is the steps to clarifier 3. The second portion of these steps. As they are, the last step will be about 6 feet off the ground, so that's why we're getting a second portion for the change order. The third item is for heat trace and pipe insulation. There's a scum line that maybe 6 foot of it is exposed above grade. So keep that from freezing. That'll get heat trace and insulation around it. The big one here is for that sewer main replacement. And then the last one is the relocation of the Ross sampler. that was supposed to go at the top of the stairs at the Headworks building. It does not fit there. And it's not an EMA 7 rated sampler, so being that it's not 3 foot away from the door, it can't go there anyways.
Would that happen?
I don't know. I guess that was the NEMA 7 rating was probably an oversight. The samplers host bid were changed out. They were a Hawk sampler, they changed to an ISCO sampler. I don't know if there's a size difference.
And Denise is on Zoom, she may be able to answer some of the specification questions a little bit more clearly. I don't know, can you hear us, Denise?
Yes, I can.
Do you know what happened with the specifications for that sampler relocation that's required?
No, I mean, I know that we relocated, but I do not know if the other one was NEMA 7 as well. You know, if that was not NEMA 7 as well, I would have to dig through that. I could give you an update on that at our meeting Wednesday, though.
Is that the same part we were discussing at the last meeting, the 6 versus 7, the different?
No, I think I don't know, like I said, I don't know what was originally.
This is not for any new part, it's to
Yeah.
move it to a different location that required some additional work and labor from the
This was a
contractor.
cost.
Because once they got it on site, they realized the location that it was supposed to be in was not functionally going to work for the facility.
Well, we had talked previously last meeting about whatever, this is about. Okay, great, here, the 6 versus 7 NEMA or whatever, is that the same piece of equipment that we're talking about previously? No.
That was an extra, this just collects a sample out of the sewage coming into the.
Okay, I just don't wanna say, okay, well, we doubled in, we had to increase our expenses on this. Part originally, now we're paying to move it because it's a different part.
No, that's different part.
So I was out there last Tuesday. It was supposed to sit up on the Headworks building.
Yep,
On the
along the
deck.
stairway going up to the upper portion.
Correct. And now it's sitting down.
On
a
top of
piece-
this raw sewage pump station.
Right. Sitting down almost at ground level. Next to the raw sewage pump station.
But that's not where it's supposed to be.
No, it was supposed to be up on the Headworks building.
So now it's down. Where it's not supposed to be.
No, it's down where it's going to be.
Where's it supposed to be?
So where it's supposed to be with this change order is down sitting on top of the raw sewage pump station. I couldn't ever put it up there because it wouldn't fit. You could open the door halfway. Or you wouldn't be able to get the sample out of the sampler.
Gotcha.
And we've been on borrowed time with our old sampler for many years.
All right, what about the cast iron pipe replacement? Give us the detail on that, because that's the bulk of this change order.
Can I jump in, Randy, do you mind?
Yep.
Okay. So this may simplify, this change order that's being presented to you guys, may, no promises. So the total change order is for the 138,330.27. Automatically, it's gonna drop to the 93,120,195 if you approve everything, because we do have a mechanical allowance of just over 45,000. Staff would tonight recommend that you guys approve all of this change order minus the cast iron pipe replacement for the 101,142.42. If you would like, we have several concerns with this, so in an effort to continue moving this project forward, it makes sense to approve these other change orders that are required, but we would like some additional time as staff to go back to LaSalle because we have concerns and questions with that dollar amount for the cast iron pipe replacement. Hogemeyer did review that change order. I got it very quickly from them right before it was due to be on the council agenda, so I've included it on here. And then Randy and I looked at it a lot more closely once we had all of the information, so that's why it's being presented to you guys without our recommendation, but it might kind of, if you would give us time to work through that, then we could probably come back with some better information and understanding of the proposal, and at that time either can identify that it's been decreased or specifically the items that we don't agree with, but we're hoping that LaSalle and Fogelmeyer can work with us on that. But definitely if you want to get into it or if you have other questions, I'm not trying to deter us from doing that. I just trying to make things a little bit easier, hopefully.
So those total changes add up to 37,187.85.
Correct, which would leave us that, so we would deduct that from the 45. So we would still approve the total amount of change orders and then just notate that it'll come out of that mechanical allowance. It'll leave a little bit of an allowance there, and then we would bring back the cast iron pipe and the remaining mechanical allowance, if you so choose, of course.
Okay, so then taking out the cast iron pipe, obviously, we had Ken out there, we're gonna have some continued dialogue regarding the entire process in that one. Can we talk about the clarifier stairs? Was that missed engineering wise, or is that something that LaSalle missed in their drawings or in their bid project, because it had to be one or the other?
So those were missed in the drawings.
Okay. Those are the kinds of things that we need to document. This is nothing against Fogelmeyer, everything, obviously, this stuff happens, but when the battles come down the pipe later on, these are the kind of little issues that we're gonna have to notate for when we're wheeling and dealing later on and say, okay, this expended, or this, this cost more money, or this didn't, this was missed, this wasn't, so.
And not to use the word blame, but
Correct.
where does it fit into the puzzle?
Right.
Mhm.
These stairs being built out.
Galvanized steel, and then I think the treads themselves are aluminum.
Were these stairs, we approved some stairs back in the early December, I want to
Several
say.
meetings ago, I can't remember.
Is this an additional set of stairs, or is this an add-on to those stairs that we,
Yes.
what got missed? I mean, I know we
So-
got no-
Yeah, I can probably explain that. So it was presented to us, and so I mispresented it to you guys in December. It is the same set of stairs. However, when they submitted that one, we thought it was for the complete set of stairs. They said it was submitted because of the elevation issues that were on the drawings. And I think Danielle and Randy can both, remember we had that conversation in a progress meeting after you approved it, and he supplied this extra addition. And I said that, I go, well, we totally, said the wrong thing then to the council, because we were under the understanding that that was it. So that original one in December was for the elevation issues on the stairs that was shown on the drawing. And then this one is supposedly going to finish it out because that was like 6 feet too short.
when you say they, do you mean LaSalle?
LaSalle, yes. It was our understanding, and when I presented it to the council in December, that was it, was correcting the whole thing was going to be top to bottom. And I actually said that to you guys in the meeting. And then a month or two later is when he presented this change order and said that no, that original one was not for the entire set of stairs.
It's $20,000 for 6 feet.
I think we spent 17 on the original set.
It was 101 for your cast iron piping, so.
Magic pipe.
Great, magic stairs.
Do you have documentation on that, Denise, on what they mistold us to begin with, I guess would be the other thing?
I guess I could dig back through the meeting minutes and the emails, to get specific, to get that specific. I just know that we had that conversation during the meeting.
Right.
All right, Danielle, you are asking us to approve the various items, the stairs, the heat tape, and the sampler relocation.
Yeah, so I am asking you to approve that. The amount would be $37,187.85. Minus that mechanical allowance of the $45,135. So it would still leave us an allowance or credit of $7,947.15 at this point. And again, keep in mind that and the cast iron pipe would come back to council. Once we had some additional questions answered. And that's correct. Okay. Like yell at me if I misspeak or you don't agree or.
I'm just confused on the whole stair thing. If the LaSalle ordered them, they ordered stairs that were 6 feet too short. And they were out on site. Again, it's either the prints or not being on site, or, I mean, now you're looking at $37,000 for a pair or for a set of clarifier stairs. Again, something was missed, whether LaSalle missed it on the print or it wasn't on the print. They were there to see it. They should have known, okay, the distance from the top of this clarifier to our ground level is whatever. They literally ordered half a stair or a stair that is 6 feet too short. So somebody missed something. Does that fall back on the prints or does it fall back on LaSalle? Or are they just?
My understanding is in the original bid set of drawings, there's just a little snippet that shows, hey, there's some stairs here, but it doesn't give any detail as to what the stairs are. So their assumption was that it was part of the clarifier package. Later down the road, through some addendums and change orders and reprints of drawings, the drawing gave some more detail, but still didn't show the full set of stairs. So they submitted what was on the print, not understanding that it didn't show the whole set of stairs. So it was they assumed that what was shown was what was necessary, and then when they came back out to go over it all before they made and brought everything out, they realized that, hey, we're gonna be 6 foot in the air on the end of these stairs. Which led to clarifier stair 2.0.
Was there a sign off anywhere, Denise, that LaSalle signed off on what they were asking for and approved? In other words, did they approve the stairs that are now 6 feet too short?
Well, that's when they submitted, when they submitted that first change order. I would have to see what shop drawing they submitted with it, I guess, or what drawing they submitted with it, but, and that's why I said I was under the assumption it was for the full set of stairs when we presented it to you guys. So, yeah, I mean, I could go back and look at the detail of that. I don't have it in front of me right now.
Understand.
I guess my fear is, obviously the sale tax on overhead profit or whatever else on that bid. And it should have been ordered, you buy half a car, it's gonna cost more to pay for the other half and put it all back together rather than just order it as one. I mean, that's kind of a simple way to look at it. So,
I mean, I'm sure there's a slight price change just due to inflation.
well,
I mean,
yeah,
15% is still the 15%.
I just don't want to see the additional markup on something that, we're paying for twice. I mean,
Which all adds up.
oh, I guess as long as we document everything like this, it is what it is.
Anything more for Randy, Danielle, Denise? Any other discussion? Does anybody have a motion that they'd like to put forth? We've got Danielle asking us to wait on the cast iron replacement pipe. Sounds like we're a little iffy about the stairs, but yeah, so if we approve everything without the cast iron, we'll stop at credit of $794,700. 15.
I'll make a motion then to approve change order. Number 23, I'm sorry. As amended, various items, 166.60, additional clarifier stairs, 19,214.49, heat tape for 11,405.04, and the sampler relocation for $6,401.72 for a total of $37,187.85.
There's support for that motion? Or further discussion? Remember, you can support a motion and vote no.
I'll second it for discussion. I guess my only point is, again, when do we sit down with the engineers, when do we sit down with the contractors and really say, okay, these are the things that are costing us above and beyond? Whose fault is it, and how do we justify, or how do we try to mitigate those increases in the
That's what I was
costs?
waiting on. Yeah, how does it get? How does it
And
get cleared up?
again,
How does it get
we're
cleared
gonna
up?
have to, I don't wanna, blow smoke like we're just gonna, address it and then pay it off, but like at some point, we're gonna be sitting down and discussing this stuff later on, but as long as we have very detailed, I guess,
Who does,
back and forth.
Danielle, my assumption is that you are keeping track of this issue.
It is a combination. So Ken on site keeps daily reports of exactly who's out there, what equipment, what work they did with photographs. Denise does a really good job of tracking all of the agendas and minutes for our progress meetings. Ken also with Randy, they're doing punch lists that get updated as they do things. And then internally, both Randy and I are documenting each of these things too. So I actually have an Excel sheet that I use internally to track some different things and costs. I have one for engineering. I use a couple different ones. Plus I have literally probably 4 folders this big. Plus I just told Lisa I need another binder, which will be my 3rd just for this project. So I would say documentation wise, we have a ton of it. I do think we've done a really good job with this project with documentation. In fact, even recently at one of our subcommittee meetings, legal even identified that they were happy with some of the documentation that we have, and that oftentimes you don't get that. So it is being documented. I think the big thing is, and we're still working with LaSalle in the subcommittee, so we don't have any information there, but I think as this project comes to a close and we start getting to final payments, I've not got a bill from the engineers for some of their work the last couple of months. We're gonna have to sit down and have these conversations and work that out upon completion and say, okay, here is each of the things. How are we gonna mitigate this and what are we gonna do? Because the village only has this much money for the project as a whole. But it is documented by several of us.
And Denise, I don't mean for it to sound smart or like I'm, accusing you or anything like that, but again, these things where change orders come up, for example, the sampler relocation, I would assume that we're not being billed by the engineering firm, by you.
No, as Danielle said, we have not sent you an engineering invoice for probably 3 months. That includes Ken's time that has been out there full time. We have expended our contract with you and have not sent you a bill.
Right, and that's give and take too, because obviously having Ken out there being on site, that's gonna help control the cost factors to an extent to explain, well, LaSalle wants this, but engineer was out there and said, well, no, it should have cost this. So again, you know, there's still that give and take that we're gonna obviously work with you on. But I wanna make sure we're not being billed on things that are beyond our control that, for things that were missed.
No, I have not billed any time to this project personally in months, so it's more than been recouped.
All right, well, no further discussion, let's have a vote. Lisa, if you will.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
James,
Begrudgingly, yes. That passes. Thank you, Randy. I'd like to see this 95% start to move up. Give me 96 next.
You did say 96.
They were probably 96.
I think we're at least next.
Probably,
Yeah,
it probably is a win.
It might be
We
90.
do have a pay request where it is at 96 or 97. We just didn't get it in time for the agenda.
Awesome. Thank you, Denise, and thanks for
Yep.
your help tonight.
Yes.
Where are we? Number 7. Resolution recommending approval of a social district permit. We had quite the discussion in BDA. We hashed out a number of what if scenarios, and I think we came to the conclusion of a very solid presentation here.
So James,
Go ahead.
I would like to request that council not take action on this item tonight because we do have some additional information that we would like to share with the DDA board before it comes to you guys. And we don't want to provide information to you that they also did not get to see. So this will actually be going back to the DDA on May 10th. And then come back to you guys on May 22nd.
Laura, you good with that?
Yes, that's what I would prefer.
Okay. Council doesn't mind it, I'll just move on. Any objection? All right,
Thank you for your understanding. Sorry about that.
I was very excited for a minute.
I could tell, I kind of felt bad reading on your right there.
All right. Last but not least, number 8, approve the village hall schedule change. I myself am loving the new hours. It affords me the opportunity to get there after work if need be. Danielle, do you have anything to say?
No, I guess a little bit. Staff is also loving it. I will say it did take a little bit of time to adjust. And I think too, for our residents to adjust. And we'll see, I think if this stays going into the summer, if there's anything else that comes up. We had talked about the last time when we looked at this, doing a temporary basis, some different ways to evaluate it. So I tried to do that a couple different ways. I provided what our employees were working, our salary employees before 410s. Worked on average 65 hours a week. We now average 46 hours a week, and I did list the highs and lows there as well. Our in-person customers vary very significantly. I tracked that per week. That is only in person. We don't have a really good way other than like if we sat and tallied our phone calls to do phone calls. I can tell you our phone calls in the mornings and evenings are significantly greater than the in-person contacts that we have, but I don't have a number for that. Our utility bills, I did look at these. We did decrease a little bit this month. We had increased the months before. I did compare to the same time frame last year. Rates did go up, so that one's really hard to track if there's a savings, but I did share that. We had total of 31 comments, from residents, all in favor of the work week. Staff here at front did not receive a single comment against or not in favor, which I think speaks a lot as well to the 4-day work week. And then I did provide staff feedback as well. You guys can all read, I won't read those to you, but if you have specific questions, let me know. I did want to make sure if there were any impacts to other divisions that maybe we didn't notice or see that those were provided to you guys, but we would like to continue with the 410s. We do want to be more available for our residents at the same time, creating that work-life balance for our employees as well. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, so your average hours have begun to decrease. Have you seen sort of it trail off from the beginning till now? So in the beginning, you're still working high numbers, but now you're.
So actually, it really has stayed pretty consistent. I again tracked that per week as well. You'll see the one high week was 59 hours. That was actually myself, and it was pre-vacation. So I was really ramping up to be gone for a week and wanted to make sure that I was ahead of what I needed to have done and the staff was all set. So outside of that 1 week, we've really been the entire time about that 46, 47 hours. And again, there's a little bit, that's an average. So there's some weeks, you know, Laura will be here for 53, but then the next it's 42. And sorry, I'm picking on you, Laura, but it's all of us. Same thing with Lisa and myself. So that has been beneficial.
Lisa, better work-life balance? Laura?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, Nichols, come on up. I got some questions for you.
I'll move to approve the village hall office hours to be set Monday to Thursday, 8 AM to 6 PM.
Thank you. Moved and supported. Any other discussion?
My only comment would be, Danielle, just continue that for a set period of time or until there, need to discuss further. What are your thoughts there?
It would be until or unless we need to discuss further, unless you guys, I mean, again, it's council pleasure, you can change that, but that was kind of my intent, is that would be from here on out.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No? All right, Lisa, Monday through Thursday, 8 to 6. Go ahead with the vote.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
James.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
Smile, Danielle.
Seriously, thank you. We do appreciate that,
You're
and
welcome.
hopefully that does help our residents out too.
Reports. Any questions about the reports?
Yes, I actually have just comments about. Are you talking about each one? Do you want to talk about each separately, or do you want just to throw them out at you? What are your thoughts?
Go ahead, just whatever comments you have.
Okay,
If anybody would like to review anything or ask questions, if not, I think we all review them on our own time.
okay. Yep. I just said to Laura, thank you very much for your detailed DDA Main Street report. I appreciate those. I really like that format. I don't think I had the opportunity to tell you that last month when you were gone. And big picture is that I just appreciate all that you got going. The narrative is appreciated. Parks and Rec, Eric, I am looking from you for the numbers. I thought I had requested the numbers from you regarding the number of participants, et cetera, with those programs. I don't see anything from you as of
And
yet.
the comments there is that next month we don't have all the expenses and stuff in for the whole month, so.
But how
for
about
the
from
whole
the,
program.
how about from programs past,
Grants past such as.
like the volleyball, like the I don't recall seeing the numbers for
I thought that was given, but maybe I was wrong.
I don't recall. That's why
I would
I
love
asked.
to check that now.
Okay.
You got it.
So that's what I'm kind of looking for there is are the numbers. What's the status on any new programs being provided?
We're in the process now of discussing Blissfield on tap,
That's not a new program.
not a new program. What are you looking for, Gwen?
I'm looking for, well, on your scorecard, there was a new programs and I'm not seeing
Yeah.
anything in your notes, in your minutes regarding any new programs, and that was something I'm looking
Well,
for.
pickleball is what we're looking at, but we need to discuss the courts. I would love to get a pickleball league going. We need to discuss what we're gonna do with courts.
Okay, that discussion has been, I thought, around for a little while, and I'm not seeing anything more. I'm not seeing anything new. I'm hearing this, it's being discussed, it's being discussed. And again, I'm not trying to be, smart here, but my impression was that there were gonna be some new activities. And I'm not seeing any new activities. That's what I'm asking.
Nothing specific as of right now, no.
Okay. That's what I need to know. How are things going with the pool?
Going great. Going great. For lifeguards are hired, most of them are trained. There's, I think, 2 that are gonna be trained in June. Just because they're not 15 yet. What else? Landscaping's almost complete. Your the picnic area will be delivered towards the end of May. And right now we're in the middle of trying to get the concession stand where we want to get it as far as ready for opening.
Okay. I'm just checking my notes here. All right, no, the big question I get, I was just looking for the looking program. That's what I'm looking for.
But when don't you go to Parks and Rec? Meetings?
I do.
And is there new programming being discussed as a board? And we're pretty full on what we offer, so I'm not quite understanding what the.
Well, it was my impression, I'll reiterate, it's my impression that when the position was created, added to, that there would be, according to the scorecard, there were gonna be some new activities. So that's what I'm looking for. Are there new activities? And the pickleball.
So
has
is
been
the
something-
bringing that up? Is the board
So
discussing?
I wasn't in attendance last Tuesday. I had a thing going on with my kids in
Okay.
school, so I did not attend. No, there's been nothing. I mean, it's been, a lot of things have been discussed, but nothing is coming to fruition.
Okay,
I would like to hear some ideas of what exactly, I mean. I understand what you're saying with the scorecard. I mean, we're pretty, got a lot of things going on. I would like to hear what you guys would like to, I mean.
See, I don't, that's not what I'm not sure. Danielle, could you clarify that for me, regarding the scorecard? I know that we have talked about that before. Am I accurate in that?
Yeah, so when we did the redid the job description, and we're really talking about structuring of Parks and Rec back in, was it June? I've got a reminder sent. I'm pretty sure June of last year. At that time, we redid the job description to the current job that Eric is on, and council wanted to add a scorecard to that. So the scorecard, I think, had 4, and I'd have to pull it and I can send it to you guys again. I think 4 different goals or things that we wanted to see achieved in the next year in this position. One of them was 2 new programs within the year. Increased participation, I think, was 25%. Do you? Don't quote me on that. I know it was increased participation in programs by a certain percentage, increased revenues of $10,000 for the fiscal year. And I want to say one more, again, I'm going off memory. So at that time, council had identified you guys had set the criteria. It was put into the job description with the intent to bring that back up 1 year after the restructuring of Parks and Rec. So again, I have that on my calendar. I think it's I have it in one of the meetings in June. I'd have to double check to come back to you guys for review. I know I've specifically provided that to Eric a couple times too, and even did here a couple weeks ago, again, just to make sure that we don't lose sight of that, because it is coming back to you guys at that 1 year.
And so when you asked it, Jake, my comments, so what?
I had this pulled up, it looked like it was from last March. The job description.
That's when we started it, right? But Eric wasn't actually put into the position until later, so we did 1 year from his appointment.
Gotcha. I think that 4th thing you were looking for is improve operational efficiency.
Yes, thank you. That was the other thing. Thanks, Jerry.
So when I'm just looking at the tennis pickleball, I would agree that that has been something that has been discussed, but nothing is coming to fruition, meaning it says And that's be put up in the next couple of weeks. Evaluation is still needed to determine. I agree with that, but nothing's going forward. And there's been a lot, in my opinion, a lot of discussion on it and not anything really specifics going on. Are there going to be teams? How much might it cost? And those kind of things. I'm just saying that kind of stuff. Blissfield on Tap, great event. However, that is not something that is new. It's being put to a new location. The 3-on-3 basketball, and then some of the updates here. And that's where I was asking for some of the numbers because I wanted to see how we were playing with the scorecard. Not simply, I'm looking at it from a benefit of the village. It's not an Eric thing. This is where's the village going. This is what I thought was one of our objectives. And so that's where I'm going with that, Eric. Is it's an objective for the village were those items. And I couldn't remember what those 4 items were. The big thing in my mind is the new programs. And that's where I'm not seeing that. Does that help answer?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things we had talked about at one of our Parks and Rec meetings was the softball field being out there at the one park, and a lot of discussion, but I don't see anything coming to fruition on that. That was with part of the grant or the consumer grant.
right.
So that's where I'm going with. So that is the Parks and Rec portion of it. And then the library, so the library report. Now the library report, I made some observations regarding the lack of alternate revenue being discussed. I'm not seeing that happening on there, and I thought that we as a committee have addressed this, I thought, fairly clearly. I know we have a subcommittee regarding the progress for the lease agreement. I understand that. My impression is nothing's really gone forward on that. I also, if I understood correctly, in the minutes from the library board, that they're going to be having some training dates, and my understanding was that the training dates have to coincide with our village schedule, and I don't believe that those training dates are going along with our village schedule. And then the last thing I'm curious about, and I can't answer this because it doesn't involve me, it would be something perhaps for Bill, Tim, or Eric. I just wrote down your guys' names because you're the new guys on the board, meaning that I don't know if it would behoove us to have someone be a liaison to go to the library board meetings. I'm not saying anybody has to do that. I'm just making that suggestion simply because we've got EDA represented, we have Parks and Rec represented, we have the zoning represented. And the library tends to be something that we're having some questions about. And perhaps if we had a liaison, that would be helpful. That's my only comment there.
Can we designate a liaison to a board who's?
They're voted upon, and I talked to Danielle about that today.
So the position, the library board is elected, so you would not have a voting role, but it's like any other public meeting, anybody can attend. So, and you guys as council can say, you know, that this person can attend and speak on behalf of the village at these meetings. But they would not have a vote, anything like that, Jerry, but they could be present.
And I only stated you guys because each of us has something else that we've got going on. And I'm not saying it has to be done. I'm just making that suggestion that perhaps that I don't know.
And where do we sit with those lease agreements? We had finished the employee policy. And it was just the building at this point. Is that correct?
So that, I don't know. We had some back and forth email, and then at the end of, I think it was February 21st, they emailed and said, we're ready to go on both leases. Is there a time that we could meet before March 1st? I had responded to that. I had no availability with events and meetings and different things going on. So I responded back and said, I don't have any availability. However, the subcommittee, I was just there for the village council if you guys needed anything. My understanding is that meeting didn't take place. I didn't really hear anything until probably, I'm gonna say about a month ago. They had sent some information for an insurance policy on the contents insurance and liability. I responded back to that, but I had emailed Greg and the subcommittee members a few weeks back now, saying, hey, where are we at on this? It's kind of at a standstill. I haven't heard back. I actually had a reminder today to email him again because I had set myself a reminder. I did not get to that before this meeting, but I'll send that, excuse me, in the morning again to the whole subcommittee, just saying, hey, where are we at? But right now, I don't know if they're ready to go. I don't know if they still have questions. I'm not sure.
I believe it's in their court.
Well,
Lease agreement, because we had talked about it, they had sent it back to us with what they came up with, but we hadn't had an opportunity to go through it prior to them approving it. They approved it on their own before sending it back to us for a back and forth. So it is back in their hands. We probably need to get that back on track.
I do have that reminder set. I'll continue to follow up with them, and so I'll send it again tomorrow and reach out. If I don't hear back, I'll follow up again until we make some progress.
Yeah, the last time I met with Greg, there was a lot of forethought being put into a lease and the separation alternative financing. So they were moving forward with that and working it into the lease. So it was taking longer than expected, but I thought they were making good progress on it. So it sounds like they're finished. We just need to get together and dot the i's and cross the t's.
And that's with the lease agreement, but then still looking for their alternative revenue. That's the next big thing that.
We were crystal clear about
I
the
sure thought we
next
were.
budget session, and it's gonna begin, so yeah, they should have something to come to us by June at the very latest.
And you'll,
Alternative funding mechanism.
I was saying
I
that
agree.
we had talked to Danielle as well about you're gonna start requesting.
So I did send, employees have already been working, have already submitted capital requests. The library did respond to that with, their capital request is the roof this year.
Right.
And then they were not included on the fees. The employees are working on fees right now. So the next item will be their operating and asking everybody, including the library, what changes what they're looking for budget wise and what changes they're requesting and why and things like that, so that we can budget accordingly.
Those were, I thought I had the James.
Well, yeah, and I had that as well, Gwen, I
Did
think
you? Okay.
if Danielle or one of us that was on that committee or whatever should at least email and CC, email Greg and CC Dr. Behringer, what is the plan or how we move forward with the lease agreement? Do we need to get back together? And obviously, again, I hope they have some sort of presentation or on the funding mechanism for the next fiscal year that takes care of that. Parks and Rec, my question, sorry not to drag this out, Eric, I think a lot of like what Gwen's kind of alluding to it when we're looking at increasing the concessions at the pool. Is that going to cost us more money to have 2 or 3 people staff it, or is that going to be a funding mechanism for increased revenue at the pool? I guess those are probably the questions that she's asking. I have the same sort of questions. Because we never really budgeted for those 3 staff members in the past. Are you planning to make more money in the concession, or is this going to be more of the service that we provide at the pool?
Right.
So I think those are probably, valuable questions or information that we get. That's all I had. Well, and then water treatment plant later on, the roof vents. I mean, that thing probably needs to breathe and we don't want to get in the sun or that's caking, right? So they need to get back with you and.
I have contacted them twice, with the weather change, when it was nice that one week, I was with them right away on Monday. And Jerome did not contact me back. With the weather change, I've been watching it. So I haven't contacted them or bothered them right now, but once it gets nice again,
That's my fear. Yeah, it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Have they been paid? Looking at it?
yeah.
Okay, then they really need to get out.
Yeah.
And your VF, is that the same thing as the VFD thing?
No.
No, okay, I didn't think so. And nothing's going crazy with the VFDs.
No,
Don't jinx us, Gwen.
Yeah, I know, as soon as I thought of that,
Just- No, I know.
that's what saving one.
Thanks, Gwen. So nothing Moving on
we've
with
been
that.
good, since we found that short,
Yes.
we've had no problems. I am looking into adding, some kind of air unit or air circulation in that building. I wanted to add it to that actual mechanical, housing, however, there's no space. So that building, all we have is one window that we can just kind of crack a little bit. So when it's really hot outside, we've got both of those running and we don't have airflow. So I'm looking at adding, almost like you would see at like a hotel, kind of like the one vent where I'm looking at adding like something like that to the building, just to keep more of a even temperature. So I've got some quotes out for that right now, so.
Thanks, Nora.
All right, any other discussion for reports? If not, I'll open it up to council discussion.
I just have one question. With the festival coming up in July, have they come to the village offices for any type of permit process that they normally do?
I have been in communication with them. I've actually not been able to, last year I attended their meetings. I've not been able to right now because it happens to be the same night as DDA meetings. The next month's meeting is, they've actually changed the date of that, so I'll be able to attend that. But I have been talking to them about that. They're getting their stuff around, so I'll be bringing the permit and liquor license information to you guys. We've also been talking to them about the pedestrian bridge. We're still waiting on NDOT, but I will continue communicating with them. I'm not part of the committee, but I've been attending just because it is helpful if they have need from the village or vice versa to be able to have somebody to talk to and reach out about that.
All right, any other council discussion?
Yeah, real quick, were you able to take a look at the wage scale history, I guess, based on the previous couple of years that I had questioned? Obviously, if not, I can come in personally and sit down with you and we can look at how things got kind of.
No, I have not had, it's not, I just haven't had time, Mike. I can do that.
All right. I'll just set some time, try to come in with you and then try to bring something back to council because there were some discrepancies and I think that we all should be able to talk about it and say, okay, I know we approved what we had crystal clear and said, but again, there were some steps from previous years that I think should have been there or may have been misjudged. And then secondly, where's the treasurer tonight? They should be at the meetings, correct?
He's at training.
Training,
Yes.
okay.
He is all week.
Yeah, thank you.
Any further discussion? Any public comment? All right, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Will we adjourn?
I'll support.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bill,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Gwen? Yes. Tim,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James?
Yes, motion carries. Next meeting is May 8th, 2023, meeting adjourned.